favorite meal? Maybe it's a nice and savory steak, or it could be breakfast for dinner. For me, it's tacos. I really love all the different options you have with sour cream, with a hard shell or a soft shell, but there are so many great meals out there. Today, we'll be hearing how Jesus shared a last meal with his disciples and how it is still shared amongst his believers today. Do you want to hear more? Well, stick around because that's what we are about to hear.
Welcome to Game Time. Our game today is called Which is Better? In this game, we'll give you some choices and you and your family will decide which they think is better. Now don't worry, we'll give you some time to discuss it. All right, let's hop into round number 1. Well, hopefully you all learned something new about your family. Thanks for playing, everyone. Make sure to come back next week to join us for another fun game.
The options in our game were based on personal choice. None of them are really better than the other. However, the Bible teaches us that God does have something better for us. The story of the Bible reveals God's plan to send a better prophet, priest, and a king who would save people from their sins. Well, today we will be hearing how Jesus shared a last meal with his disciples. This meal was called the Last Supper. And guess what? We can partake in this together. That's why our big idea states, believers share the Lord's Supper to remember his life and death. This meal revealed that he had come to make a new and better covenant. A covenant is an agreement or a symbol of keeping promises. We can read about how God gave a covenant to his people during the times of the Old Testament. That agreement relied on his people performing a sacrifice in the temple for their sins. But under this new covenant, we can find forgiveness and freedom through Jesus and his death and resurrection. So let's watch our Bible story to hear more.
Jesus and his disciples were in Jerusalem to celebrate Passover and remember how God had delivered his people from slavery in Egypt. Jesus sent Peter and John to get the Passover meal ready. He said, "Go into the city, and you will meet a man carrying a jug of water. Follow him." Jesus said that the man with the water would go to a house, and the homeowner would show Peter and John a large room upstairs with furniture in it. That was the place Jesus wanted them to get the Passover meal ready. So Peter and John did as Jesus said. When the Passover meal was ready, Jesus and his disciples reclined to eat. Jesus said, "Truly I tell you, one of you will betray me." The disciples were upset, but Jesus knew this was part of God's plan. Each of Jesus' disciples asked, "Surely not I, Lord?" But when Judas Iscariot said, "Surely not I, teacher," Jesus said, "Yes, it's you." Then Jesus took the bread, gave thanks to God for it, broke it, and then gave it to his disciples to eat. Jesus said, "This is my body, which I am giving for you. Do this to remember me." Jesus took the cup and gave it to his disciples. They drank from it, and Jesus said, "This is my blood of the new covenant, which is poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins." Jesus showed his disciples with the bread and the drink that he is the true Passover lamb. They sang a hymn together, and then they went out to the Mount of Olives outside the city. God's people had broken the old covenant, and God promised to make a new covenant to forgive sins. The new covenant says that everyone who turns away from sin and trusts in Jesus' death and resurrection will be forgiven of his sins and will have eternal life.
When we want to remember special occasions, we often create traditions around it. Take your birthday, for example. Your family celebrates it every year by getting a birthday cake, telling stories, or even getting presents. There are so many great traditions or reminders that we have for different events. Today, we're hearing about a tradition that Jesus created to remind the disciples and even us of his sacrifice. Now, Jesus didn't have a photo album or a trophy to use as a reminder, but he did offer his disciples a meal, the Lord's Supper. We now call this meal communion, which is used as a constant reminder of his death and resurrection. In our story, we see how Jesus used bread and juice to do so. Jesus broke the bread to symbolize his body that was broken on the cross. He then poured out this red juice that symbolized the blood he would shed for us. Both the bread and the juice that we drink are symbols that remind us of what Jesus did when he died on the cross. Jesus did all of this for us. He was willing to suffer and die for us to set us free from the power of sin and to bring us into God's kingdom, where our relationship with God could be restored. Our sin hurts our lives, but Jesus came to heal us. When we take the Lord's Supper, we remember this incredible gift from God. Here are some important things to remind ourselves before we take communion. Communion is for believers only and isn't magical. We won't receive more favor or blessings from God because we take it. Communion is, however, a good time for examination. It's a time to look towards your relationship with God and your sin. Is there sin in your life that you need to confess? Or are you walking closely with Jesus? Communion is the perfect time to draw near to Jesus and turn from sin. Communion has been a tradition in churches for a long time. You and your family can read more about it in 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 23 through 28. Then spend some time in prayer. Jesus was the perfect sacrifice for sin. So take some time to thank God for the gift that He offers us through Jesus' sacrifice. Thanks for watching, everyone. Come back next week to hear how Jesus was arrested.